I definitely put myself on the back burner. I was we had feeding issues, we had sleep issues, and all of that just compounds and it's a perfect storm for postpartum anxiety, postpartum depression. And I just didn't know how to advocate for myself either. I didn't know how to communicate those needs to anybody because I grew up being very independent, very self-reliant. I thought I was going to get a trophy for doing it all by myself and doing it well. But after 6 babies, I know now that is a bunch of nonsense.
Hi there, Soulful Mama. Welcome to the Soul Care Mom podcast. I'm Catherine Wilde of soulcaremom.com. I'm a mom of 3 amazing kids, a soul care mom coach, and a yoga and meditation teacher. I've helped hundreds of women, and I'm here to help you feel calm and find your unshakable confidence as a mom. If you're ready to stop living in survival mode and you're ready to drop the mom guilt and overwhelm, this podcast is for you. Think of this as a lunch date with a girlfriend. Grab a cup of tea and get cozy. It's time to get honest and vulnerable and shift the traditional mindset around motherhood. Be sure to subscribe to be the first to know when new episodes are released. Get ready to grow and feel empowered as a mom. I'm here for you, Mama. Let's get started. Do you feel like your voice gets lost when it comes to your or your family's health? You know yourself and your family best, but it's not always easy to know how to advocate for ourselves and our loved ones. That's why I'm so excited to share this empowering episode of the Soul Care Mom podcast with you, where I chat with Karen Ashley, a women's health nurse practitioner, all about navigating women's wellness and how to advocate for yourself and your family when it comes to health and wellness. If you're ready to find clarity and confidence when it comes to your health and wellness as a woman, this episode is for you. Hi, Karen. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
I'm excited to talk with you. I love that you are passionate about women's health and wellness. Would you start by giving us a glimpse of some of your journey and what led you to become a women's health coach and advocate for women's wellness?
Yes, absolutely. So I started my career as a nurse at a children's hospital, and I was attending my school for a master's degree while I was working as a nurse. And my master's degree is in women's health, and I'm a women's health nurse practitioner, and I'm board certified. And after I completed my degree, I started working as a nurse while looking for a job as a nurse practitioner, and just really fell in love with the mother-child dyad. I was really kind of treating the child in those situations, but really my favorite people to work with were the babies and new mamas. And it wasn't always in the best of circumstances. They were in the hospital. Their new babies had come in with one thing or another, but they were brand new moms. And I wasn't a mom yet, but I just loved working with them because they came in a very vulnerable and needy situation. And I just loved loving on them and helping them get everything they needed to get through that really rough time. And it gave me a whole new perspective on that once I started having my own children, a new respect for that situation and just a new perspective. I saw throughout my training as a nurse practitioner and then in the hospital as well, caring for children, so many gaps in the care. And not necessarily because of the staff or the facility, but just the system in general, just a lot of gaps in the education of our practitioners and in the care that our moms and babies were getting. So over the whole time that I've been out of nurse practitioner school, I've been getting more education in integrative medicine and functional medicine, and just creative ways to go about problem solving health issues for women and their children and supporting them in all of their wellness aspirations. So now I'm a mom of 6. I just had my 6th baby, and he's just about 2 months old, and just love welcoming children into our home and caring for mamas in the really hard work that they do. So.
Oh my gosh. So you've experienced this from all the different
Yes.
And
Yes.
I love that you were drawn to helping the new moms and like really loving on them, because that's a really hard transition to make, and it's also like a very overwhelming time, because we want the best for our children and we kind of get put on the back burner, and not think about ourselves so much and really take care of ourselves in the best way. So I love that you looked at it, that you're able to have that impact on both the mom and the baby. And and I love in that you said that, there are so many caring, healthcare providers out there, but for us to be able to, we know ourselves best, right? And so to be able to say what we need, just like in our relationships, our spouse can't read our mind. And so being able to advocate for ourselves is so important. So I love that we're going to dive into that. So would you like to start there? So, it's empowering to know how to navigate our health journey and how to best ask questions and get the support that we need. Can you share some guidance on how women can begin to advocate for themselves and their families in the healthcare setting?
Absolutely. So this is another thing that I gained from both experience as a patient and as my children were patients, and also advocating for myself, and then being the practitioner in that relationship. So I have been with my children and with myself in a situation where I'm just going to paint a picture here, and it's a picture I've been through numerous times, and I'm assuming a lot of your audience has, at least on one occasion, gone into a doctor's office or an urgent care or a hospital, and you have a problem. And it could be anything from a minor thing like an ear infection or you're giving birth and you're walking into the hospital to give birth, and you have questions, you have anxieties, you have concerns, and you go in and you are rushed, you are told what they're going to do instead of asked. You're not asked what you need. They just start rattling off, this is what we're going to do, this is what we're going to do. Nobody asks you what you want, what you need. Or you feel like you're rushed through, like you're just on a conveyor belt being pushed through a system, and you aren't able to ask your questions. You might just leave empty-handed, or you might leave with a plan that you're not completely on board with. You might leave just like completely confused, like what actually happened? What did anybody say? And I didn't love that. Going through my clinicals, I was paired with nurse practitioners, and we would go and see their patients together in clinic, and we would see people. They would spend time with them and talk to them, and some of them were just wonderful, and they would do a really great job. And if you find a practitioner like that, you've struck gold. But with some of them, I felt like we went in there and we listened for a few minutes, and we gave them a prescription and we left. And that I could see it in their eyes that that's not what they came for, that they still had questions, that they were confused about what they just heard, and they just accepted it and left, and I know that they probably went home and told someone, I don't know what happened, or I went and she just said this and just gave me a script and I don't want to take it, So I've been on the other end of that too, where I've taken a child in and I've had a concern, talked to the doctor, and I had a doctor tell me, you need to get off the internet. There's nothing wrong with him, which was so, it almost made me cry in the office. They didn't know I was a healthcare worker. And so maybe it would have been different if they'd known that. But I, as a patient, just felt like this is not right. We need to be able to walk in there and express our concerns, be listened to and really heard, and leave with a plan that we are 100% on board with, or be able to leave and come back with questions if we have them. So that's really my goal when I work with my clients now. But I really like to talk to anybody about how to do that in the medical setting. Like we walk in and we sort of feel like these people are the authority. The doctor knows best, the nurse knows best. I have to do what they say because they're the expert. And to an extent, they are an expert in their field. That's why you're going to them. But they're not the expert on you. They just, maybe they just met you, especially if you're going to see a new doctor, new specialist, or they've only known you for 15 minutes at a time once a year. They don't really know you as well as you do. And same goes for your children. You know them best and love them the most. So you're the one that, has to take care of them at the end of the day and has to implement the plan that they give you. So I like to kind of say that those people are like expert witnesses in a trial. You have them come for a reason. You listen to their advice. You can ask them questions, but ultimately you're the one that gets to decide if that plan is for you or not. So I like to tell people to make sure that they are trusting their provider. Word of mouth is probably the best way to find a provider, but to ask around, make sure, and then you can see these people, and if it's not a good fit, it's not like you have to stay with that person. A lot of people don't know that. I was referred to this doctor, I have to see them. You can choose someone else. If you go there or you even talk to their office and can tell right away, this is not a good fit, you don't have to. You can keep asking around, look around, and find someone else in the network that you trust, because that is a big help in that whole process of accepting a plan that you trust, if you trust your provider. So getting a provider you trust, making sure you write down all of your questions and not feeling bad about asking them. Sometimes you feel like you're a bit of a burden, like you're being too difficult or pushy if you ask too many questions or question too many things they say, but you're not. That's just advocating for yourself. So make sure you write down all your questions. Make sure you can ask them, because sometimes you get through half your list and they've got one hand on the doorknob. They're walking out. You can keep asking your questions. You pay for a visit, so you can ask all your questions and make sure you write down the answers. And I even have people read back the answers to their provider and say, let me make sure I heard that correctly, what you said. And that gives a whole other level of understanding when you are able to repeat it back to them, to make sure you have it right. I recommend people bring someone with them to the appointment. There's studies on how much you retain when you go to an appointment, and it's about 10%. And that's even for health, people like me who I went to an appointment yesterday and I remember about 10% of what she told me. I don't need to know remember every single thing she told me and be able to repeat it back, but I do need to remember the important parts and be able to understand my plans. So, and also that person you bring with you can be an advocate. And this is especially important in the birth realm. When you're in labor, when you're about to be induced or you're in active labor, you're in another mind place, and you're not able to always articulate what you need, what you want. And that is a place where a lot of times you're told, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. Having someone to advocate for you that knows your desires and your plan can really step up and say, no, she really wanted to do this, or she really wanted to ask about this before that happens. That's especially important, to have someone with you that can be an extra set of ears and someone that can help advocate for you. Yeah. And I always just want to make sure people know that they are never being a bother or a bad person, a bad girl or being difficult for asking questions or for saying no, or for delaying, for saying, you know what, I need time to think about that plan. I need to go home and talk to my partner or my family about that before I make a decision. So.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing all that. So much of it resonated.
Oh, good.
I mean, I've experienced what you're talking about with my birth, with my first child. I remember, just going to my OBGYN and it was, I had that same experience. I had a couple of questions and I like to write things down because, like you said, I don't always remember. Mm-hmm. And so I had my little notebook with me, and I think she was afraid that I had a lot of questions. And she did have one hand on the door, and it was going to be a Christmas time baby, and so I wasn't sure she was going to be there. There were so many things that weren't sitting well with me, and I talked to a friend about it,
and she had already had a few children. And so she was like, well, why don't you go talk to somebody else? And it was mind blowing to me that I could go do that. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I've been with this person. Why would I, and it's just, it seems so obvious now to me. But at first it was like, oh, wow, I can do that. And like you're saying, you know yourself best, and finding the right fit for you is an important thing. And yeah. And being able to say the information back is such a great tip, because we homeschool, and that's like a way that I know that my kids have, reached mastery in something, and we can move on to the next thing, is if they can teach it back to me. So I love all of those tips.
We homeschool too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You have a lot on your hands. That's amazing. Yes. So we've talked about advocating for ourselves. What about the mom that's put herself on the back burner for a while? What advice would you share with her if she's feeling overwhelmed with where to start in just her own health and wellness journey?
Sure. Yeah. This topic has a special place in my heart, because that was me. My husband is a physician, and during his residency, we were in a town where we didn't have any family. We did have great friends, but we didn't have any family there. It was my first baby, and I just wasn't really confident in what I was doing. And I also didn't have a lot of resources around besides my really wonderful friends. But I definitely put myself on the back burner. I was we had feeding issues, we had sleep issues, and all of that just compounds and it's a perfect storm for postpartum anxiety, postpartum depression. When you're not having the energy to feed yourself properly, adds a whole other layer onto your risk for postpartum anxiety and depression when you're not being nourished. And so that happened again with my second, because he was still in residency at the time. And I just didn't know how to advocate for myself either. I didn't know how to communicate those needs to anybody, because I grew up being very independent, very self-reliant. I thought I was going to get a trophy for doing it all by myself and doing it well. But after 6 babies, I know now that is a bunch of nonsense. Like, I now know to ask for help, because people want to give it, overwhelmingly. If my friends from our residency are hearing me talk right now, they would say, like, you should have asked me for help. But I didn't know how to ask. And I thought, I can do this by myself. People do this by themselves all the time. But the truth is, you don't need to, and you shouldn't. Our society is now set up where we are away from our family. We are more separated from our family than we have ever been in the history of human beings. Like, even in the past 100 years, 200 years, you wouldn't survive if you were this far away from your family, because you relied on each other for support and for food and for work. We were all tight, and we were in villages and tight communities, and we don't have that anymore. Moms haven't been doing this by themselves for very long, because it's not normal. We've always been supported by a tight family, community, society. So knowing that this is not normal for you to be isolated is the first step. And then the second step would be to start making those connections and asking for help. Starting with your own home, communicating if you have a partner at home, your husband, or maybe you have a mom with you or someone helping you raise this child. Communicate your needs to them, and you are not weak for doing that. You are advocating for yourself and for your baby, and it's not selfish at all. So I didn't know that I could communicate those things. I thought, my husband's so busy, I can't add one more thing to his plate. But he wanted to help, and he didn't know how, and he didn't want to sit and watch me go deeper and deeper into anxiety and depression. He wanted to do something. I feel like men really want to fix things often, and he wanted to fix it. And so I know now how to communicate those needs, to say, you know what, I need some time to do this, or I'm not sleeping well at all. The baby's awake a lot at night. I need you to take a shift from this time to this time. Can you do that for me? And almost always they say yes. Like you can ask a friend to do that, or we've adopted a couple of grandparents around that don't have their grandchildren nearby. And they love helping. They love being around the kids. And it's just as much of benefit for them as it is for my kids and myself. A lot of people just really want to bless other mamas, and time is one way that a lot of people can contribute, if they don't like cooking, postpartum meals, or they don't have a lot of money to give, time is something that, you can usually squeeze in. I can take an hour shift or 2-hour shift, but I'm never ashamed to ask for help anymore. And I know some people still have that block that they need to get past. So start something small, ask, hey, can you take my baby for 15 minutes while I take a shower? Or can we meet up here? And can I just talk to you? I need if you're extroverted or something, you just need someone to talk to. Can we meet up? Small things that don't seem like you're imposing. But that's one tip, is to communicate, and then start going out of your circles a little further. Once you know that the people in your home are, supportive of you and helping you get what you need, go one level out, to your extended family or to your friends, the next layer out, and then keep going, further into your community. Maybe it's a support group, or, another like mom group or something. You don't have to get out there right away when you're feeling anxious and depressed. Just slightly enlarging your circle more and more each time to get support. And for me, also helping other moms is really nourishing for me. And so being able to get out to that community level and just support other moms and feel like I'm also contributing while benefiting from those relationships is important.
Oh, I love all of those. So I'm seeing a theme of I think this is really common for us as women, is, not wanting to be a burden, whether it's at the doctor's office or asking for help. And just knowing that it's okay. It's okay to ask for that help. So on my journey, I did have someone for my first daughters, for all three, but that she was, I had a doula and a midwife, and so I had that person advocating for me, and that's such a really nice thing to have someone who understands what you're going through. And you can even have like a postpartum doula as someone to help you, because we are away from family, and it is so, it's priceless. It's amazing to have support, especially during those first few months where you're just trying to figure everything out. Yeah.
Yes. I feel like postpartum doulas are sort of taking the place of what, like what I was talking about with in our culture several hundred years back, like what an auntie would do, or, your grandma would be there, everyone would be so close, like physical walking distance from you, that would be an aunt that would come over, or a cousin that would come over and cook for you and take care of your kids. And I love that postpartum doulas are a thing now, because then they can take the place of what your family would be doing to support you. And they just do kind of whatever you need them to do, whether it's watch older kids for a little bit, or make you some food that didn't, involve just microwaving something. They can make you something that's really nutritious, and make sure that you are getting your questions answered, and that, can help you talk through some of your concerns about feeding, and, just voicing concerns about growth, and just reassure you on a lot of things that otherwise would just kind of snowball in your brain and turn into big concerns.
Right. Yeah. It's giving you someone that has the experience, and is creating that connection as well with another adult, if you're, when you're alone and isolated. So I love that, whether you're away from your family, or maybe you just don't have a very supportive, system around you, you can create a family around you. I love all of those tips.
Do you feel overwhelmed and anxious? Do you wish you could stop losing your temper with your kids and just have more fun as a mom? Do you crave finding more time to do the things you love without feeling guilty? I get it, Mama. I've been there. That's why I created the Vibrant Mom Life membership. Imagine what life would look like if you could finally get out of survival mode, consistently find time for yourself, and be the calm, present mom you've always wanted to be. This membership will help you step out of anxiety and overwhelm and help you find time for yourself without the guilt. Inside Vibrant Mom Life, you'll find monthly themes that will help you shift your mindset, get out of survival mode, and find time for the things you love, all while being the mom you want to be. Plus, you'll find guided meditations and yoga practices that will help you effortlessly infuse your days with self-care. And I know that some days are harder than others, so you'll even find a library of short and sweet guided affirmations, so you can simply press play and reconnect with your inner calm in just minutes. Join Vibrant Mom Life today by going to soulcaremom.com/membership so you can stop running on empty and truly enjoy mom life. I can't wait to welcome you inside, Mama.
Okay, so we've talked about nourishing meals a little bit, and so I can you share with us like the correlation you've seen between nourishing ourselves and burnout? What are some tips and practical ways for moms to nourish themselves and get out of that burnout?
Right. So, nutrition is huge in making your body feel safe, basically. And so when you're low on reserves, you don't have the nutrients that your cells need, your body feels unsafe. And you will, if you get depleted in certain nutrients, develop anxiety and depression. And you might think, okay, now I just have this new diagnosis. I'm depressed now. I'm going to be on medicine for the rest of my life. When really I'm not saying this is true in every single case, but for a lot of times with postpartum, you're depleted in nutrients. The pregnancy is a huge drain on nutrients. Your body just needs a lot of macro and micronutrients to grow your baby and keep you alive at the same time. And then the birth is a huge calorie burn and a huge, just not drain, but it just takes a lot of resources to birth a baby and then to start feeding a baby, to produce milk, to have enough energy to produce milk and get into the milk the nutrients that the baby needs. And so really repleting our body with those nutrients that were lost from those processes, and also building up going forward to optimize your own health and then get you in a good place for your next pregnancy. If that's, down the road a couple years, you don't want to be depleted when you go to get pregnant again. It'll just lead to a very tired, very potentially complicated pregnancy and then delivery, and then just continue down the road of, depletion, which is the symptoms are very similar to just anxiety and general depression. So especially important in those nutrients are B vitamins. So those are best gotten from food, but for a mom who's just like, I don't know where to start, I need nourishment now, I'm so depleted, I tell people to stay on their prenatal vitamin for at least 3 to 4 months postpartum. Some people are like, okay, done with the pregnancy, can ditch the prenatal vitamin. That is really important to keep taking for that 4th trimester. And that will take a little bit of the load off of you, making sure you have all these, meals that you need, especially if you don't have people bringing you meals. But I also emphasize high protein diet, it's high protein for not in the sense of like keto or paleo, but it's really protein is needed for like energy for the entire day and just to build up all of, the processes in your body. So I tell people to get about 80 to 100 grams of protein a day. As new moms, and I can tell even with my 6th baby that I do this, you feel like you need to eat something immediately, and it's usually a quick carb. It's something sugary or something like quick that you can just grab and eat, like muffin or bread or whatever. And I have been eating a lot of bread It sits on my counter and I just keep hacking away at it all day. But those are not that's not the fuel that's going to last much longer than 2 hours. So I tell my postpartum moms to get about 80 to 100 grams of protein a day, and to fill the rest of their plate with something bright and full of fiber. So vegetables and fruits that are brightly colored. As many colors as you can get on the plate is great. The color equals phytonutrients, which are, some people can talk about antioxidants, that's the same idea. So filling your plate, half your plate with something bright and fresh is great. Having protein in there, and then carbs. So it doesn't have to be a science. You don't need to go get on a specific diet. Don't need to stress out about how many grams of this I'm getting, how many micrograms of this I'm getting. If you get that protein goal and half of your plate is brightly colored fruits and veggies with fiber in it, you're doing great.
I love that. Keep it simple.
Yeah, keep it simple because you don't have time. Nobody has
Oh,
time
no.
to be on some specific diet that you need to calculate things or input things into an app. I mean, maybe if you're sitting there breastfeeding anyways and you want to input your food and make sure you're getting all the things, then that's great. But I don't have a lot of brain space for that postpartum. So
Right. Yeah. I love those tips. The correlation between what we eat and our mental health is so fascinating.
Oh, absolutely.
And
absolutely.
I think sometimes we separate those two things. We don't know
right.
the correlation there. So
it's absolutely correlated, and I think it's because you don't see an immediate change, when you eat something, I feel okay, I'm not hungry anymore. But you don't get this oh, now I suddenly have mental clarity and I'm not depressed and I feel happy, it's not an immediate response. And so I don't think people make that correlation a lot, but consistency is key. And once you will notice results, they won't be immediate, but you will notice, that next day, oh, I'm not as bloated anymore. Or a couple days down the road, oh, I feel like I wasn't as dead tired when I woke up today. When you are really nourishing your body and meeting your body's needs for calories and for protein and for those B vitamins and fiber that I talked about, your body feels safe. Your body feels rested. Your cells are getting the energy that they need to function and do all the things that your body needs to do, which will result in your symptoms improving. So,
yeah, that makes so much sense. Thank you so much for sharing all of your wisdom with us and your journey with us. One thing I like to ask is, we go through so many experiences and things. If you could go back and share a piece of wisdom with your younger self, what would you tell her?
I think when I was in school learning about women's health, I really enjoyed what I was learning. I enjoyed the connection with my coworkers. I enjoyed the connection with my patients and clients. And I knew something was missing, but I didn't know what it was. And so I wish I could go back and tell my young student self that you don't have to follow these same rules that everyone else, that everyone is outlining, the way we've always done things. You don't have to do things the way they've always been done, because that's not always what works, And I wish I could also say, this is kind of the path you need to go down, and it's okay for you to be a little bit different. People in the integrative and functional medicine space, even if they are licensed practitioners, still get kind of flack from people in the conventional system because they're doing it differently, and that's new, and that's not researched enough. But all the interventions that we do are research based, and it's okay to be different. It's okay. A lot of people need a practitioner that's willing to kind of think out of the box and think of creative solutions, or to just ask more questions and maybe try some things that they haven't done before. It's kind of scary for conventional practitioners to go out and do those things because of the regulations that they have from their professional organizations, like the American Academy of Pediatrics, or the American Medical Association. They put out the American College of Obstetrics and Gynecology, and they set out these guidelines, and they feel like they have to follow them exactly, otherwise they're going to be sued. And it's really at a detriment to their patients when they aren't getting what they need, because they don't fit in the mold. They have a problem that doesn't fit that solution. So I wish I could tell young Karen it's okay to be different, and this is an okay path to go down, to look at other options, different ways to practice. I don't have to work in a traditional office. I work remotely. I talk to people on the phone, and I order their labs, that they can test at home. And so it allows me a whole lot more time to talk to them. Before I would have 15 minutes with somebody, and even then we were overbooked and I wouldn't have time to talk to them. And now I have an hour or more. Like when my first consultations with people, I book 60 to 90 minutes. So I've talked to people for an hour and a half before, getting their whole story, talking about as many things as we need to, even if things that maybe they don't think make sense, like, here's this weird thing that happened to me, and then my symptoms started after that. They don't seem related, but maybe they are, and let's talk about it. And I have people making connections all the time. Once we set out a timeline of, when did all these things happen? What was going on in your life? People are making new connections all the time and having aha moment. And it's like, oh my gosh, those symptoms did start after I had, this super stressful life event, And so I love making those connections with people and being able to spend the time really getting to the root of their problem and getting them a plan that they are on board with, that they have, that gives them hope.
Oh, I love that. And I'm so grateful for practitioners like you that are open to trying new things and paving the way and helping us to lean into our intuition and guide us through that.
Right.
That's so beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, women's intuition is very much ignored in the conventional system, and it should not be. It's just, I place a huge value on that information that women give me, where they say, I feel that these things are related, or I feel, that this is the cause, or I really feel aligned with this plan over this one. I say, go for it. I like giving people options and making sure people are aligned with their plan, because that is how it's going to get implemented. If you don't feel like this plan is for you, you're not going to do it. Or you're going to do it and get, bitter about it or something. So.
Right. Yeah. That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing all of this. Can you let us know where we can find you online?
Sure. So I have a website. It's a very amateur website, but it gets the job done. It's Karen Ashley, KarinAshley, like nurse practitioner.com. I'm on Instagram at the same thing, Karen Ashley NP. And then I also, for your listeners, if you go to KarinAshleyNP.com/soulcaremom, I have a special page on there that will connect you to a booking for my calendar. I do all women's health, but my passion is fertility and preconception, that time just before having a baby. So I love working with couples, mom and dad together, the hopeful parents together, to work on problem solving and helping them kind of get the next step in their plan. So I have a page on there to book free 15 minutes just to chat about where you are, and maybe make a plan for going forward. It's not a sales call. It's nothing sleazy. You don't have to buy anything from me. I don't sell it. I don't have any, affiliations with any companies or anything. So it's just a chat to kind of talk about where you're at and what would be the most helpful thing to move forward in, fertility specifically. But if you just, have a health issue that you're just concerned about, that you've been shut down multiple times and you don't know how to move forward in getting the care you need, we'll just chat about it for 15 minutes and then make a little plan, action steps moving forward. So that's at KarinAshley.com or KarinAshleyNP.com/soulcaremom.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. I will share those links in the show notes so everyone can find you.
Great.
Thanks for joining me, Mama. I'm over here smiling from ear to ear and giving you a big virtual hug. I love spending this time with you. You are amazing for showing up and carving out this space to nourish your soul. If you are loving the Soul Care Mom podcast, be sure to subscribe and leave a review. And if you are ready to start your mornings feeling calm and energized, get the Kickstart Your Calm Morning Guide, a self-care morning ritual for moms, as a free gift when you join the Soul Care Mom community. Head over to soulcaremom.com/kickstart and enter your email address to get your free gift and start feeling like a calm mom today. Sending you so much love, Mama.